As of today, I'm officially downgrading from my top-of-the-line max-spec iPhone 16 Pro to this. So the phone I'm downgrading to is the iPhone 16e. If you missed it, it was released last month, and this is basically Apple's newest budget option for the iPhone. And I strongly believe, despite being the quote-unquote budget model, I think this is going to be the best value phone for like 90% of people because it has a lot going for it. That being said, there has also been a lot of criticisms about this thing since its launch, but I don't necessarily agree with all of them, and I'll touch on those in a sec, but I'm going to be putting my money where my mouth is and switching over fully from my 16 Pro to this to prove a point. First impressions though, this thing feels really great out of the box. It doesn't have the glass back anymore. It has this really nice textured plastic, which I actually like a lot. That being said, it brings us to the first criticism most people have of this phone, the one I agree with most. They decided to remove MagSafe. As a habitual MagSafe user for filming, charging, and so many other things, this is insane to me that they didn't include it. This would honestly almost be a deal breaker for me, but luckily you can get cases with MagSafe built into them, like this ESR ones that I really use anyway, that will pretty much fully give your phone MagSafe again without really having to worry about it too much. Another big thing people have complained about is the refresh rate, which is only 60 hertz. Let me explain what that means. So refresh rate is basically how many frames per second your phone can display, with the 16e being 60 hertz or 60 frames per second, while the 16 Pro is 120 hertz. Frames per second coordinates how like smooth things are and how responsive they feel. This is a really big deal for things like gaming monitors, but in my opinion, refresh rate isn't that big of a deal at all on phones. I personally, as a daily user, don't notice it navigating through my phone normally. For context, movies are shot at 24 frames per second, and you probably have never complained about how smooth those are. Another huge thing with refresh rate is high refresh rates use way more battery because you're displaying way more pixels, literally double the amount of pixels. So having that lower refresh rate means you're getting huge returns on battery life, which apparently the 16e does incredibly well, especially compared to the Pro. And some people say refresh rate is night and day on phones. I personally do not agree at all, but I'll let you know after my month of testing. The last thing people criticize is the price. I agree that 600 USD or $900 Canadian isn't necessarily a budget option. But instead of shorting their budget model phone like pretty much every other brand does with much lower specs and a lower processor, the 16e uses the same A18 chip that all of the other modern phones do. So even though you're losing all of these small features like MagSafe, at the core, the actual performance of the phone is going to be near identical. I would assume this is why we're seeing the slightly higher price point for the budget phone. I think that is a fair trade-off for something that's going to provide so much more longevity and have it be, for all intents and purposes, the same as the other phones in the lineup. That being said, as somebody who's literally a phone power user, I film content every day. I'm on this thing 10 hours a day using it for my livelihood. If this works for me and I'm not noticing a difference from my 16 Pro, I think it'll work for you too, and I'll feel comfortable recommending it. Let me know if you guys have any other questions on this thing while I use it for the next month. Let me know your thoughts on it, and I'll catch you in the next video.